All right. Can you see the PowerPoint that I am projecting right now?
Good morning, Victor. It's clear.
Yeah. Good morning. It's very clear, right? Okay. So let's try to review what we discussed last meeting. We discussed about the different categories, the different levels on Bloom's taxonomy. All right. And we came to know that there are 6 levels: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, I would like to emphasize that these are the different levels catering on the different learning outcomes that we would like to plan in our class. All right. So I think I was able to finish already the other topics, but I really would like to look into synthesis and the last one, evaluation. I would like to emphasize this because you are supposed to be hearing this. Now in synthesis, we enhance the ability of our students to put parts together and create new ideas from old concept. That means to say, as students, you have to come out with something unique. You have to come out with new knowledge as an offshoot of what you learn from the classroom. Of course, it is expected that when you are learning from the classroom, you're learning something. You are learning new data, you're learning what's going on with your profession. And on top of that, you're also needed to come out with new things, with new knowledge. After all, as a student, we continuously learn and we continuously create. Now, if you are a teacher, you do not just actually be happy using the knowledge coming from others. You are going to be very happy, I suppose, if you come out with your own knowledge and share that with people. That's the reason why if you're going to examine what is going on in all higher colleges, higher education institutions, you'll be able to find out that most of the faculty members are master's degree and most are doctorate degree holder. What is the reason why we are actually hiring these people in higher education? We hire them to teach. Why we are hiring them to teach? Not because they're very competent, but because they have created a new knowledge that could be shared. On top of that, they are good also. You see, when you say master's degree, it is assumed that you must come out with new things. That's the reason why they are asking you to come out with your thesis. Much more with your PhD, you come out with your dissertation. These two things are entirely your own. These two things are entirely unique creation by you. And of course, these are created out of the knowledge that you have gained when you were still studying, so that you have something to share. You have something new to share, so that the other academics would be utilizing what you are sharing them. Likewise, what we are learning right now was a product of the work of Benjamin Bloom. You remember when he was taking his doctorate at the University of Chicago, he was able to devise a way to come out with the learning outcome. He was able to find a way to institutionalize the learning outcome. That's the reason why we are still using the product of his PhD work. So synthesis is something like you have to create something out of the old concept. You are expected to do that. So that must always be included with the learning outcome. Now, how are you going to evaluate this? How are you going to assess this? As a teacher, if you're going to include in the learning outcome the different synthesis learning outcome course, now you have to evaluate using most probably a short answered essay, or you're going to ask students their opinion. They have to come out with something, you see, or they come out with reports. They come out with new reports, out of the reading of the students. That's how we evaluate. No, after all, it's not evaluation or assessment must not be coming only from examination. It could be coming from the assignments. No, it could be coming from field reports that you're requiring the students to submit in the end of the semester, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So most of the verbs that we will be using in the following: argue. You'll come out with your position that is that is entirely your own. Arrange, assemble, categorize, collect, combine, compile, compose, construct, create, design, develop, devise, establish, and so on and so forth. So that means to say all these verbs will cater on the need of the students who are going to be creative, who can come out with what they know and what they have. The next level is evaluation. This is a higher one. We cater to the higher thinking skills of our students. We develop the students' ability to make judgment on the value of material for a given purpose. You see? So you have to judge. I believe I discussed this thoroughly last week with you. And these are the verbs that we will be using. All right? Appraise, ascertain, argue, assess, attach, choose, compare. You make judgmental call. So all in all, as a student and as a teacher, it's your duty to create or to motivate students to think, come out from the shell and create something. This is our main agenda. This is our main, let's say, we have to take this in mind all the time. We have to make our students contribute for the better good of the society. So, Bloom's taxonomy, always remember that there are six with, no? These are the following: knowledge, you know this, knowing the fact without understanding, just simply memorizing. Comprehension, number two, knowing the fact and knowing the reason why the fact is like that, why the fact says so. Then application, this starts your higher order thinking skills, no? The one and two will be lower, and three to six will be higher order thinking skills. Analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. All right. So I think that concludes the Bloom's taxonomy. We'll try to look into different aspects of how we are going to come out with the learning outcome. So let's try to look into other domains based on Bloom's taxonomy. There are actually different domains, particularly if we're going to look into how we write and how Bloom came out with something. He was able to address the need of the students to learn based on their skills, to learn information and knowledge, and to learn what we call as behavior, right? So the first domain is actually affective domain that caters for the behavioral needs of the students. It concerns with the values. It involves attitudes. It involves behavior. That is the first one. Remember, there are three: affective, right? Cognitive, and the other one is pertaining to skills, right? So the affective domain is actually pertaining to feeling. And there are actually, if you're going to look on the five levels here, so in number one, it's actually catering on the need of students in their willingness to receive information, the capacity to receive information. You see, when you are attending the class, you must actually behave in such a way that you are interested to learn. There are students like that, no? They are very enthusiastic to learn. They would like to learn new things, although for a fact that they know already what they need to learn just because they read something about it, but still they go to the classroom hoping that they will be learning something. It actually caters on the enthusiasm of the students. Your willingness also to concede, your willingness to accept whatever new information that will be given by your teachers. You see, as I told you before, the creation of knowledge must always be two ways, coming from the students and at the same time coming from the teachers. You can come out with new things if you're going to do that. So as a student, you're very interested to come out with something. You're very interested to attend any activity that is designed in your classroom. It is your willingness to receive information. If you're willing to do that, then you fuel your enthusiasm already. Number two, responding. You are going to actively participate in own learning. This must also be addressed by the student, by the teacher. So we do not just give information. We do not just go to the classroom in order to prepare for the examination. We don't do that. Examination only caters one thing, and that is to assess if there is learning in the classroom. The real purpose why we are in the classroom is that we need to come out with something. We need to learn something. We need to create our own knowledge, our own learning. So we must have to make it sure that the students must be motivated to come out with their own learning. You see, you own it. After all, you will be the one to use it eventually in your profession. It's not your teacher, it's not your parents, it's not somebody else except you. You go to the classroom because you would like to learn something new. You go to the classroom because you want to apply what you're going to learn. Then after that, you cater on valuing aspect of affective domain. You own it. If you own it, then you are going or committed to apply it in your own and with others. Commitment to a value, commitment to your worth. You see, it's not like I paid this, so I must be giving this. It's not like that. You must be very responsible to on your learning or your own learning. Therefore, you are also capable of receiving it and owning it and using it. That's the reason why, as a student, you have to make it sure that you are going to commit to learn and to improve what you are learning. If you're really committed to learn, then education is not only until BSN. Education is always lifelong. That's the reason why we have what we call as lifelong learning. No, education is always lifetime because you are learning every single day. If you're going to think about that, you are committed to learning. See, if you're going to do that, you will be humble as possible as you could be. Then organization. You are going to cater on the capacity of the students to compare, relate, synthesize values. Yeah? How much worth is the thing that you are actually learning? How valuable it is. You can actually learn how to compare the value of what you are having today than the value of what you had before. The nursing before and the nursing now. You see, the subject before and the subject now. What you're actually trying to learn. No? So you see, we would never go wrong if we will always think that when we go to the classroom, we would always find something new. And that new things, whether that's small, how small it is, as long as it will help us understand the things around us, it will be valuable. That is the thing that we would like our students to have. Right? Then, of course, characterization, the integration of beliefs, ideas, and attitudes eventually. So you can actually integrate this in order to change your own world and the world around you. That's the reason why when you go to the classroom, make it sure that you go there to learn something so that you can actually use what you learn to improve yourselves and improve others. That's how we actually would like to integrate in affective domain. Do we teach that? Do we actually include that in the content? Most of these things are not included in the content. Most of the things are not spoken. Most of these things are actually based on how we actually think, how we characterize our classes, how we actually go to our classes, how we behave in the reception of knowledge that we have. We do not actually tell you what to do. We do not actually, most of the time, if you're going to look at this, if you are going to teach your classroom, you do not actually go there and behave all the time because you will always be denying the students of teaching the information. Imagine there are teachers who are actually failing into this or actually falling into the trap of this, no? Because they would like to discipline children. They would like to discipline students. half of the way, the teacher would always do the sermon, would always criticize, would always get angry with the class. How much the students would actually learn? So if I'm going to tell you like right now, no, you learn in social learning, you learn by modeling. If you're going to see your teachers committed, you could always find every value on what he is actually doing. Like for instance, the value of honesty, the value of integrity, the value of hard work. You cannot teach that directly. You cannot give information. What you can give to the students would actually be the example. You're teaching honesty, but you are manipulating the grades of the students. You are teaching integrity, but you are actually always giving way to what the students demand. You are teaching, you are going to teach about, let's say, hard work, but you are late when you go to class. You see? So when you're going to teach, you are going to teach by example so that students will model you. From time to time, we have to remind them, but we do not actually include that in our contents. We speak, we act what we are going to teach them so that the students will be able to see it. That's how we are integrating the learning outcomes in our lesson plan or teaching plan based on objective domains. What our students would like to develop based on themselves. If you would like the students to develop integrity, honesty, and hard work, you need to show it as a teacher. So you must always include this in the learning outcome. Normally, if we are going to have 5 learning outcomes in our lesson plan for 1 hour class, we would always add one. That means to say 4 main contents. We're going to cater on the contents of what we're going to teach. And then number 5, we are going to make it sure that the effective domain will be included also on the fifth. Now, sir, you will be asking, how are you going to assess that? It's very too easy to assess that. No, you can always include in your examination higher order thinking skills, a type of questions. Maybe MCQ, you're going to give them, you're going to give scenario where the students can judge, where the students can decide. You can actually ask the students to write something about it in short answered essays or questions. No, so you can always ask the opinions of students about this. And of course, there will be criteria in marking it, and that must be written out or spelled out by you eventually when you're going to include that in the assessment. You see, this is how and what we are going to do in including effective domain in our learning outcome. Right. Moving forward, these are some of the effective domains, the verbs that we are actually using for outlining our effective domain learning outcomes. Appreciate. Do we teach how to appreciate? We cannot dictate how to appreciate. It's only coming from the students. You see, they develop it. Accept. We cannot always tell the students to accept. So they develop this. So in a way, students must always develop all these behavioral aspects that we would like to teach them. Assist, attempt, challenge, combine, complete, defend, demonstrate, a belief in. See? So if you are believing on something, yeah, you can always demonstrate that. Discuss, dispute, because you develop your own opinions already about things. Embrace, follow, hold, integrate, order, organize, join, share, judge, praise, question, relate, share, support, synthesize, value. These are all the value system that we would like our students to develop on their own. This must always be included in the effective domain. This is actually very important. Why? Because we define learning as a gradual and permanent change of behavior. Eventually, at the end of what we are going to teach them, at the end of teaching them, we make it sure that the behavior of students have been changed from worse to better. So if you are going to look at the college graduate, college students, their behavior are being developed or being improved. The way they behave, the way they act are actually being improved. Of course, in terms of skills also, they are improving from novice to expert, from beginner to expert. You see, we can always share that. Before you were only learning about let's say before you became a teacher in BLS, you were learning about how to do BLS or how to get a license for BLS. And after that, you learn how to deliver it, how to love it, so that right now you are teaching yourselves. The same way with teachers. You see, these are some of the things that we are actually having. I will answer first question. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Good morning. Yeah. And I'm very sorry because there is a call. Anyway, moving forward, you understand what I mean? Hmm? Teaching is actually, you see, teaching is a passion. Teaching is a life work because you can always say at the end of your work, you help students develop, you help students improve. And this is one consoling part of teaching, when you're going to be a teacher and you will see how your students became, it's splendid, right? The next domain that we would like our students to improve on, so that we will include this in our learning outcome, will be psychomotor domain. This will be the skills. No? When you say psychomotor domain, we would like them to be taught on how to do things, the right things. This was not completed by Benjamin Bloom, as I told you, because he died already. No? But it was continued on by other educationists, by other educational researchers or educational psychologists. You see, a lot of people followed his work because his work was very impressive. He created something new. No, in nursing also, when are we going to create something new? We do not just actually utilize the theory. Sometimes people are being asked, "What theory are you using in the delivery of your nursing care?" We quote the first time we quote the nursing theorists that we know of. What about how can we not create? We can create something, isn't it? You see, most of the theorists do not actually consider when they actually completed and presented the work about how to work in the Arab world. Maybe you can actually create something new because most of the theories that we believe in are coming from the West, Americans, and most of them are actually Americans. You see, no one is actually coming from the Arab world. We can actually create something new, introduce something new. See, instead of consuming the knowledge that they actually have given us. Now, moving forward, the next domain of the learning outcome that we would like to include in our lesson plan would be psychomotor domain. So we are going to think on how and what the students will learn. You see, we're going to cater on the skills. It will actually involve on coordinations of brain and muscular activity, like what we are doing in the OSCE, what we are actually planning for clinical activities of our students. No, you see, we would like them to learn. It's difficult at first because we are trying to motivate students how to learn the skills that we would like to teach them. No, when they would like to practice our profession. Just like teaching them, our students how to do unwashing, teaching our students how to do injection, IM, IB, and so on. Teaching our staff how to open cannula, teaching our staff how to operate a specific equipment in our world. You see, these are the things that we would like them to have. No, we are going to use the following verbs. No, bend, grasp, handle, operate, perform, reach, relax. Most of the time in nursing, we do perform, we do operate, reach, relax, shorten, stretch, differentiate, perform, differentiate like our physical assessment. No, perform also physical assessment, and so on. So these are some of the things that we need to cater. This is very important because it involves our career. It involves the trade of our profession. See, so you can actually tell students if you're going to teach them, you're actually changing the lives already. That's the reason why we keep on telling once you are a nurse, you will be a nurse forever. You know why? Because the skills that you are going to teach your student will be there forever. You're not going to lose it. Like for instance, right now, you're taught how to do blood pressure. You close your eyes and you can still take blood pressure. Take temperature also. A lot of people do not know how to take temperature, but nurses do, even though they're retired already. So the skills that you will be learning will always be with you all throughout your lifetime. It will be a life changing um, process or procedure if you're going to be a teacher. After all, as I told you again, we will relate this to the definition of learning. I keep on repeating this because I like this. And this is the reality. When you say learning means you are going to change the behavior of people over time permanently. You cannot take that away. Once you teach them, you cannot take that away because the knowledge, the skills, and the behavior that you transferred will become permanent. You cannot take that away. No one can take that away. It will only be on the position of the students and nothing else. Once that we teach, we cannot take that away because it will be owned by you. It will be owned by the students. It will be used by the students to improve the life of others and their lives also. All right? Moving forward, now these are some of the advices of writing learning outcomes as we go on. Learning outcomes should be clearly written so that they are understood by students, colleagues, and external examiners. That means to say everybody will understand it. The moment you're going to write a learning outcome, it must be simple. It must be well understood. Just like what we are actually having when we are actually doing the nursing process. The nursing process must be standardized. Any nurse can actually read, you see? So it must always be simple enough, clear, and concise that can be understood by people, including the examiners. You know the reason why, what's the importance of the learning outcome? Because once that you are going to be missing your class, other teachers will take over. The moment that they will see your plan, your learning outcome, they will see what they will see, they will know what to do. You see, what you are going to plan for will be executed for execution. Just like the blueprint of our house. If your engineer is out or if your architect is out, anybody can interpret that. The mason, the carpenters, they can read the plan. So they know what you want. The same way, when you're actually coming out with the learning outcome, they know what you want your students to learn from you. So the external examiners are those people who are actually giving us accreditation. So this is actually very important, because we have been visited by CEA once in a while. For universities, these are very important. It must be understood by anybody outside the university. You do not just create things for your own consumption. Create things so that it will benefit others. Create things so that it will be understood by others. This is very important because that means they most of the time will come and evaluate the learning outcomes. They do not evaluate. Uh, Most of they do not actually know what's going on in the classroom. They assume that once that you are going to present them the materials that you are teaching, These are the things that the students are learning from you. These are the things that are given by the university. So they will assume that these are all delivered. Do not design a learning outcome that you cannot deliver. As I said, in nursing, it's very important. It's integrity. Do not record what you did not do. Record only what you did. In teaching, teach what you planned for. See, that's the way. Do not teach what you do not plan for. Focus on what you expect students to be able to demonstrate upon completion of the modular program. You look into the skills, particularly in psychomotor domain, on what the students actually will learn from you. So maybe after attending my classes in nursing education, you will be able to. There are only three things that I would like you to do: come out with teaching plan, okay, design assessment, and deliver your teaching plan. Course teaching plans will be more complex because it includes the learning outcomes and other materials. After this, I will teach you the different way on how to teach. No, so many things. No, how you are going to design your your teaching materials and how you are actually going to deliver it. Supposed to be we're starting our taking practicum this semester, but just because of what's happening right now, we cannot do that. So we will implement the teaching practicum by next semester. So everybody will have a chance to teach, to deliver what they plan for. Moving forward, we can actually do the following formula. You can start with on successful completion of this module, the student should be able to, or maybe you may not write unsuccessful or after. As I mentioned to you, there will be time frame. Now, after 36 minutes or after 60 minutes of lecture and discussion, the students should be able to, as I mentioned to you earlier, the word must always be stated in action word. No, the verbs that I have given you earlier. This will be how you are going to formulate your learning outcomes. Avoid complicated sentences. This is not a work of creative writing. It must be straightforward. No? Straightforward means to say one sentence will mean a lot. Okay? If necessary, use no more than one sentence to ensure clarity. Okay? General recommendations, you are going to have 5 to 8 learning outcomes per module, per class, maximum of 5, minimum of 3. But for module, if you're going to teach module just like what is going on in medicine, the module maybe around 5 settings. That means to say 5 hours, so it will be a long time, no? So that's why 5 to 8 learning outcomes. But in reality, if you're going to have a class of 1 hour, 3 to 5, 5 or 5 being the effective domain, and the 4 being your learning outcomes that caters your cognitive domain, and at the same time that caters your psychomotor domain, 2 plus 1. So that's actually usually the formula. Of course, the fifth one cannot be delivered because that fifth one can be shown only. All right. So that's how we can actually formulate our learning outcomes. This is the basic formula, as I showed you. No, last time I taught you already how to do it. I mentioned to you about nursing diagnosis, how we formulate our nursing diagnosis using Nanda formula. You know this already, right? Now, in the learning outcomes, we do the same way. So, as I mentioned to you are going to start first with a phrase that will state your time frame on successful or after 60 minutes of classroom discussions, the students must be able to. So it must always be stated in action. You are going to make it sure that it will be delivered in action using verb. Verbs are action word that will be very important in your learning outcome. See, after 60 minutes of classroom discussion, the students will be able to A or one use the verb. All right? It depends on which level of domain you're actually catering. If you're just looking into knowledge, you say verb means to memorize, state, or identify, or enumerate. You see, these are all praise plus in order to, you know, identify the different steps of hand washing in order to, you see, that will be your learning outcome. In order to, you are going to state the reason why. Okay. Now, in the verb, you are going to think on what students need to know. What are the students need to know? Student identifies, consult, and evaluates reference books appropriate to the topic. These are some of the things that you can actually think about. This is the person plus in order to the reason why. Why do they need to know this? Locate background information in the statistics. Okay, so here I'm going to give you one example. After 60 minutes of demonstration, let's say hand washing, now the students will be able to perform, the students will be able to identify lower level of learning skills. We have the knowledge. The students' knowledge, but on psychomotor domain, the hand washing. The students will be able to identify the six steps of hand washing in order to perform thoroughly the technique. You see? So you give what you are expecting the students to know, then at the same time you are given or you are actually given the reason why do they need to know this. You see? So this is the formula of doing the learning outcome. It's quite simple. No? You know the verbs they give you, then you should know also the reason why you would like them to learn that particular aspect. See, especially when you are actually very concerned about the contents of what you're going to teach your students. All right. Here are the checklists for writing learning outcomes, particularly for your modules. I believe in your hospitals, when you are designing some sort of activities, learning activities, I believe you have this continuous nursing education in the hospital. It's not just attending the seminar; it will be series most probably of seminars or conferences. You have to take note of this. No, have I begun its outcome with an active verb because its learning outcome must start with action word, an active verb that must be carried by the students. Have I avoided terms like no? No is very difficult to measure. Understand, learn, understand is, we need to avoid this. You know the reason why we need to avoid this because we presume, I told you earlier, that when you are going to come out with the learning outcome, come out with things that you can actually measure when you are catering the cognitive and the psychomotor domain. You can measure it. You can actually assess that. Okay? So the basis of assessment will always be the learning outcome. Okay? You should know that no will be difficult to assess. That's the reason why you do not need to write this. Let's say, for instance, after 60 minutes of teaching or learning or classroom instruction or lecture, the students will be able to, number one, know, okay, hand washing. How do you assess? It's very difficult. No? Understand. Very difficult also. Learn. Be familiar with. Be exposed to. Be acquainted with. Be aware of and appreciate. Not unless you are actually looking to higher order thinking skills or higher domain. Okay? Have I included learning outcomes across the range on the levels based on Bloom's taxonomy? This is very basic. So all the verbs are actually given to you. By the way, you can download this from the website. I give you, I think, 3 reference materials for Bloom's taxonomy, including the book written by Benjamin Bloom. Okay. Moving forward, are my outcomes observable and measurable? This is actually very important. No, you need to write a learning outcome that you can actually measure from among the students. You can observe from among the students. You see? So this must always be observable and this must always be measurable. After all, you need to measure at the end of the day, because the success of teaching is success in the conduct of teaching is definitely based on on how you're going to assess them. How you're going to assess them, you observe their behaviors. How do you observe their behaviors? There are so many things. You can actually give written examination. You can actually give return demonstration. You can actually ask them to do a project, and so on and so forth. Okay. Next one. Do all outcomes fit within the aims and content of the module? Yes. Make it sure that it will actually cater your module. The module must be accurate. Like, for instance, I believe in your hospital there are people who are teaching about diabetes, diabetes education. Now, you cannot teach diabetes in 5 settings, much more intense settings, because it's very broad. What are you going to do? Decide on what you're going to teach and make it sure that in that decision, the students will be able to maximize their exposure to you, maximize their learning potentials based on the learning outcomes that you're going to decide. You cannot teach all in one setting about diabetes. You have to find out what you're going to teach them. You see? So this is the reason why writing a module, writing a writing a teaching plan, writing a lesson plan must always be based on achievable criteria that you can actually measure. You have to make it sure that as a teacher, the students can actually gain something from you. All right. What are the benefits and potential problems of learning outcomes? Let's try to look into the benefits and potential problems of the learning outcome. Number one, it helps to explain more clearly to students what is expected of them. So at the end of the semester, you can actually tell them what are the learning outcomes that you would like to have. In this case, the module learning outcome. The module learning outcome will be different from the teaching plan that you are actually having, that you'll be having. There is a learning outcome based on the learning outcomes, just like what we are actually having right now. Uh, you see, in the college of nursing, there are learning outcomes that you would like to have. Usually, it's spelled out in your catalog. I think in the college of nursing we have 9, and there are also learning outcomes that we are creating based on our syllabus. Like, for instance, nursing education is going to be delivered in 2 semesters, right? And we spelled out the different topics that we are including in the syllabus. Then within that syllabus, there are different subject matters. So the syllabus will contain learning outcomes also, more general in a way. But when we are going to look into the specific topic number one, introduction, for instance, that will always be delivered in the first day of the class. What we would like to teach our students, we need to lay down the learning outcomes also based on that. Learning outcome within the learning outcome. No? So we will make it sure that we are going to cater the needs of the students. Explain more clearly to students what is expected of them. So that's the reason why they should learn and they should read the syllabus at the beginning of the semester. And in every material that you're going to teach them, there must always be a reasonable learning outcome that you can actually give them. Help teachers to focus more clearly on what exactly they want students to achieve. So this is the thing. There are so many teachers I know, very good teachers, but when they are teaching, it is scattered. You know what I mean? They jump from one topic to another. And very sad because students will be confused. Teachers also will be confused in a way because they do not know what they are actually doing. They are flying around. They're going around the bush. If you're going to be a teacher, make sure that you stay in one area. Stay there and teach on that alone. Focus on that.
Yes, exactly.
You get the point. Focus on
Yes.
that. Not to move around. There are teachers, I know that I have some colleagues very sad. No? Hey, that colleague is a very good teacher, but jumping from here to there, it's very difficult. Now, when you're going to attend, the students will be confused, and you're very confused also. So you have to focus. That's the reason why you have to carefully plan for it. When you're going to teach about BLS, what do you want to teach first? Yeah? So you have to spell out and make it sure it will be precise and it will be concise. When you're going to teach about diabetes mellitus, what you are going to teach? When you are actually planning only to teach about symptomatology of diabetes mellitus, do not teach about treatment because it will be other topic. Teach only about symptoms, how to recognize the symptoms. See, because if you're going to move around topic, then that will be difficult. The students will be confused. Much more if you move around from different topics. You are actually teaching about diabetes mellitus, then all of a sudden you are discussing about COVID-19. That will be very difficult. That is unplanned, and it will not be good for the students and for the teachers. You see? So
Anyway,
you
from the
focus.
beginning, also the objectives will be specified there, so it will be organized. Yeah, that's why we'll be focused on the information they need
Very good.
from
Yeah.
the objectives. Sometimes, yes.
You must always think that in mind. That's why you have to write that as a teacher. See? And the students also. They have to think that in mind. Uh, that's why the syllabus is actually there, and the learning outcome must always be provided to the students because they learn how to focus. Just like, for instance, you see, so many students are actually bothering their teachers, sir, what are the next topics that we have? So there is a syllabus, and there is actually the materials given to them, and there are learning outcomes. The learning outcomes can actually narrow down on what the students should actually be learning, isn't it? To just focus on the learning outcomes. So this is the thing. So it will be helping teachers and the students to be more focused. And that will actually be very good, no? In 1 hour, what can you teach? You can teach so much if you plan for it. But if you attempt to teach about everything, you are lost. You see, how can you compress one material, one subject matter in one setting that's equivalent to 60 minutes? It will be very difficult. You have to
Yes,
carefully
difficult.
plan for it, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
You have to completely plan for it from the beginning. You should know how to start and you should know when to end. It is very important. See, and I'm actually telling you. So usually when I ask the students to teach, do not apologize for your time or do not ask about your time. How much? This is usually the problem, or this is usually the mistake of some beginning teachers or some beginning speakers. They think that they are actually doing great, but they are not because they cannot manage themselves at the time. How much time do I have left? You see, or how much time is at or they ask the organizers of conferences was probably to show the time that's actually remaining. As a teacher, you should know how much time that's actually being left, how much time you're going to spend for every learning outcome that you're going to deliver. That's the reason why if you're going to see your classroom, most of the time the clock is actually found at the back. You know why is it that we always situate the clock at the back of the of the classroom? Can you give me the reason why we place the clock at the back of the classroom? You imagine your classroom
Why Clark will be there in the classroom?
because the teachers sees it. Do you understand what I mean? They should
Uh-huh.
know how much
Yeah.
time is actually left so that we will
Uh-huh.
not be asking for time. See, if you are going to plan for what you're going to teach, you should know I'm going to start my class from this time to that time. I'm going to end my class from here to there. You see, your class will actually be made up of three time frame. The number one, introduction, that will be most difficult. I'm going to teach you about this. Now, in your introduction, you're going to set the foundation. You're going to set the condition, the environment, and everything in your class. Now, you're going to set the tone of the class. You introduce the topic and so on and so forth. Usually, it will involve from 5 to 15 minutes. It depends on how your class is actually going. But generally, you need only introduction for around 5 minutes. Sometimes for beginning teachers, also the teacher need to recollect. The teacher needs to organize their thoughts. So the 5 minutes introduction will actually help. You are sitting down the tone because don't expect that students will be there all the time waiting for you. The students will be there, maybe coming in trickle. No, then after that you go on deliver. For 1 hour class, you can only deliver, or you must only deliver a maximum of 40 to 45 minutes. You see, for 60 minutes class, 45 minutes delivery is already there. Always take note of how much the students can focus on. The attention span, as we call it in psychology, it depends on the type of audience that you're going to teach. For ordinary students, the attention span before they can easily get distracted is around 15 to 30 minutes. Always think about that. So the delivery will be 50 or 45 minutes maximum. So 5 plus 45 minutes, then you have 50 minutes already. Then 10 minutes, you are actually arriving into conclusions already. Yeah, you see, always think about that. Conclusion is also very important because you need to recap. You need to make it sure that from the beginning, you can actually find how you are going to summarize so that the students who miss what you taught from the beginning can actually learn something from you in the end. So that's actually covering your conclusion. That includes your summary. That includes your generalizing what you're actually going to teach. And of course, assignment giving. So that will be there in the conclusion. So 3 parts only. Of course, you can always manage that. So teachers must always be conscientious of time. Teachers must not ask the students about how much time is being left. And teachers must not be taught on how much time they have actually, particularly when students are reminding them, sir, it's already time. Huh? You should know. All right. So this is the thing. Now, moving forward, learning outcomes will help teachers and students to define the assessment criteria more effectively. So this is very important. I'm going to remind you, no, that what we delivered must be assessed. Not necessarily delivered means not discuss or not discuss in the class. As long as it's included in the learning outcome. Let's say, for instance, about symptoms of diabetes mellitus. That will be your discussion. That will be the focus of your 60 minutes class of instruction. You see, don't expect that your teachers will discuss all the learning, about the symptoms or symptomatology of diabetes. Maybe the teachers will be missing 1 or 2 or 3. Take note of this. You can only learn from your teachers 10% most of the time. The rest will be coming from you. It will be students' responsibility, 90%. Therefore, if that is included in the learning outcome, it's your responsibility to read something about it. Now, what happens in the assessment? When you will be given a quiz, as long as it's included in the learning outcome, it is acceptable. If the teachers did not teach that, then that is the problem of the student. That's the problem of the teacher, because this is included in the learning outcome. Most of the students are actually I'm encountering are complaining about this. Sir, you did not teach this. Mom, you did not teach this. It's not included in the lecture. It's not included in the PowerPoint. But but sometimes when we ask, did you read the learning outcome? They say, no, I did not read the learning outcome. Do you know the learning outcome? Sometimes students actually do not or cannot say the learning outcome. It's just like that, no? So the learning outcome must always be the basis of the assessment. Make it sure what to write in the learning outcome will be assessed in the end. Now, assessments will actually take in different form that I will be discussed to you after discussing the learning outcome. We'll discuss about assessment because as of now, we have a complete misunderstanding of what assessment is. Assessment does not guarantee that the student will be intelligent or not. We are not assessing the intelligence of the students. We are only assessing one thing, and that is if learning takes place in the classroom. You see, we are going to look into that. So this will be for the benefit of the teachers and the students. Why? If we found out that the student failed most of the time, the students, let's say 61% of the students did not make it, did not pass. Does it mean to say that the students are dumb? No. That means to say the class didn't get what you taught them. What is the responsibility of the teacher in this regard? The responsibility of the teacher is to reteach, to find a way to go back to the topics that were not, most probably that were not actually understood by the students, so that you are going to reteach and the students will learn more. Then you will assess again. That's actually the meaning of this. No? So that's the reason why, after all, you're actually assessing because you would like students to learn something based on that particular learning outcome, based on that particular module that you would like them to learn. You see? So this is the thing. Anyway, it's already 9:28, so we have 2 more minutes. Do you have any questions so far?
Yes, doctor, I have a question.
Yes, my dear.
Hello, doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture. I want to ask, this learning outcomes, is this same thing with objectives, learning objectives?
Learning objectives and learning outcomes almost the same. Okay. So we'll discuss about the difference between learning outcomes and the learning objectives. Anyway, learning outcomes are more specific. I will discuss that with you later on. But it only gears toward one thing only and one thing. That is to focus, to let the students and the teachers focus on what's going to be learned. Okay?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Anything else? By the way, I have uploaded already the videos. Did you receive me email? It's there, so you can access. This one also I will upload today. You can also upload. You can also access. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, really. Thank you.
All right. Okay then. So good luck on your exams tomorrow. You know it will be very easy. Okay. You have a
Inshallah,
quiz tomorrow,
inshallah.
right?
Thank you.
You have a quiz tomorrow, isn't it? It's scheduled for
Yes,
tomorrow,
yes, yes,
21.
yes.
Okay then. See you. See you till tomorrow. Okay. Bye bye. Have a good. For your attendance, please write your message on the
Okay.
message board.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.